Hi, this is Skip with Father and Son Pest and Lawn Solutions.
I'm Buddy Orth with Father and Son Pest and Lawn Solutions.
And today, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little journey down memory lane. A lot of people ask us, is Father and Son the name of the business? And since it is it really Father and Son? And so how did you guys get started? So today, Buddy and I are just going to share a few memories about how we got started and share them with you and just give you a little, do a little reminiscing with you. So Father and Son Pest and Lawn Solutions actually started as Father and Son Landscape back in 2003 when, how old were you back then?
13, 14 time frame?
Yeah. So Buddy was a teenager. Mm-hmm. And at the time we were homeschooling Buddy along with his other siblings, and Buddy just wasn't taking too well to homeschool, were you?
No, I did not like book work at all.
No. So that was a real problem. That was a problem.
Yeah.
So
very frustrating
for both you and Mom.
Yes.
So anyway, so what I did, I came up with a plan to rescue both of you.
He's never put it that way before.
But the plan was, I said, okay, well, why don't we start a Father and Son landscape business, and I could incorporate all of the learning process into the business activities that we did. And so when I first talked to you about that, what was your thought?
I think my first question was if I was going to get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that was my first question.
Right.
Yeah.
And the answer was?
It was yes.
Yes.
It wasn't slave labor, so that was a relief.
Yeah. So there was going to be some part of the education process was going to be learning how to handle money.
Yep.
And how to earn money and the value of money and all that. So anyway, we started out. Let's see, I think weren't we using Mom's van at the time?
We were using the white safari van.
The white safari van.
Yeah. So working in the summer heat all day, it smelled wonderful when we had to use it for family functions on the weekends.
Right. So anyway, but we did what we had to do.
Yep.
So we had the safari van. We bought a little 12-foot trailers, I remember.
Yep.
And we had an old Skag out front mower. That was
the big orange mower.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we got some. I remember it was a Ryobi weed eater head with 3 or 4 different attachments.
Yep.
So
we had to keep swapping those out.
Right.
We only had the one power head.
Right. So you and I were in the lawn care business.
Yes. We were official.
Yeah. So we started out. I think we started passing out flyers around neighborhoods, didn't we?
Yeah. We started doing mailbox flyers.
Okay. Yeah. So that's how we got our first customers, is just walking door to door, passing out flyers and.
Yep. Again in the Florida summer heat.
Yep. So it wasn't long before we got our first customer, and then another one, and another one, and
people started seeing our work.
Yeah. After a while, things just kind of took off, and we grew, and I remember our first big big thing for us was we bought our first truck. You remember that?
Yes, it was the white 250.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was about a 1993, 94,
yeah, that sounds
something
right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a nice truck.
It was. Yep.
I remember. You know what? I remember. It was a single cab truck.
Yep.
And I remember you would sit right there next to me. You know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
And so when I would go to back up, I would throw my arm back over the seat like that. And to look behind me?
I never trusted that he was going to back the trailer up properly, so I would always turn and look, and obviously neither one of us are well endowed in the hair area these days. So my hat bill would be facing this way, and every time he'd do that, he'd pop my hat bill by accident.
So yeah, just
Every time.
Every time. You know,
Yeah.
not, you know, and it was totally by accident. I wouldn't mean to do it. But then you started getting me back. You started taking revenge.
I would take the sun visor for his side as we were finishing up. If I finished my duties for the lawn first, I would take the sun visor, and
On my side, on the
on
driver's
his
side.
side, I would lower it and turn it towards the door, so that as he would get in, he'd bop his head on the sun visor. So a little harmless fun, but I had a kick out of it.
So every time,
Yeah.
every time I get in the truck, boom, I hit the sun visor, and that was his payback for me knocking his head off when I go to back the truck up.
Until
So-
I started to learn how to drive,
Yeah.
and then things got flipped around.
Right.
So
Yeah. So yeah. So you actually started. You got your learner's permit and learned how to drive a vehicle pulling a trailer. That was
did.
your first experience. I don't
Yeah.
know how many teenagers first start out driving pulling a trailer, but you.
Not many, but more should.
Yeah. I guess you're because yeah. Anyway, but I remember the other fun thing I remember about that time together is we would have this kind of this little competition going as to what we would try to do is when we were blowing off, you know, at the end of each maintenance job, we would try to sneak up on the other person and blow their hat off. So I'd take the blower, you know, I'd be blowing and then all of a sudden turn it, catch the bill of his hat, blow his hat off, and he tried to do the same thing to me. So that was our that was our competition. He got to where when he knew I was close with the blower, he just blows that down really.
Cinch it down, yeah.
So, but anyway, so that was the fun part, but we still incorporated a lot of learning into, you know, we'd spend most of the day together every day.
Yeah.
And in that, you know, it was not just work, but there was some learning that went on there.
I think one of my favorite things about that was for history and just general self-development. We would always do audiobooks. So I learned a lot about D-Day, a lot about World War II. Stephen Ambrose was one of my favorite history authors. We listened to several of his books. We listened to, was it For Whom the Bell Tolls? I think was a big one. Yeah, that was
Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah, that was a big one.
We listened to some of the classics, tried to listen to some of the classics.
Yeah, it was always really hard for me with my ADD to sit down and read a book, but as we were working and doing a lot of driving between accounts and stuff, the history audiobooks were awesome. And then there were several times you made me write a book report on that, and just kind of going over what I learned. We would talk about it. You know, there were many times we would sit and pause the history book and talk about kind of what the people must have been going through, especially during like the World War II scenarios they were talking about and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of my favorite parts of the education side. And then I would do like the checkbook balancing, and you know, we talk about the business finances together. That was kind of the mathematical side of things.
Yeah.
I don't know what else did we do.
Well, I mean, we talked about current events.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
we read the newspaper and talk about current events and politics
Yeah.
and, you know, things that were going on in the world and how that related, you know, to us and the world and the country
Right.
and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that, yeah, it was experiences that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else through traditional schooling. So that was, I mean, to this day, I know that some of those things that I learned back then, I'm still most definitely using.
Yeah.
Not algebra at all, but the things I
I don't
learned.
remember doing much algebra, but
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Not, you know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, we were doing that time, and then you got to a point to where you just kind of got tired of doing lawn maintenance, or what, you know?
I was just a teenager and had a petty disagreement with you. I
So,
was a brat.
and I bring this up,
Yeah.
just mainly for encouragement of any other parents that have teenagers, because, teenagers will be teenagers, and you just gotta just go with the flow sometimes, and so you kind of got to the point to where it was just like, well, why am I doing this anyway? Or is that accurate, or?
No, it was more. I was a young teenager because I was working full time. I had money in my bank account, and I just didn't see if I didn't enjoy spending time with him because of a petty disagreement, I wasn't gonna work anymore.
So yeah, so I don't know if you quit or I fired you, but anyway.
I think that got a little blurred depending on who you talk to.
Yeah. So anyway, at a point in time, I think you were maybe 16 by that time.
Yeah, I was about 16.
16,
Yeah.
So you decided to, try something else.
I tried unemployment for a while, so I just.
But Mom put you to work cleaning windows or something like that, as I remember.
Yeah, that.
She said.
Was semi-successful.
Yeah. So she was going to make sure that you.
At least helped out around the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and then after that the period of time there, you went into the Army. You decided that you.
Well, I went to work at Walmart for about 11 months as a cart pusher.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back to work with him, and he said I needed to get experience working for a non-family employer. After working for Walmart, went back to work for you, and that was 2007.
I want to say 8 or 9, 2008 or 9, because that's about the time.
Yeah,
that
early
the real estate
2008.
bubble.
Early 2008,
Yeah.
And I worked for you for about 6 months after that.
Yeah.
And then after the bubble crash, I went into the Army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So spent 6.5 years in the Army.
Yep.
Did EOD work in the Army,
Mhm.
and then you got out. You're kind of trying to figure out what you were going to do after you got out of the Army.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to work for a little bit in the oil fields in North Dakota. I had explosives training, and I had gotten my CDL at that time too. But within several months of my getting out of the military, oil took a dive in price.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So I wasn't getting any calls back from any of the jobs I applied for, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do since that didn't pan out. So you offered to put me to work again. So I figured at the time I just kind of thought that was going to be a temporary thing until I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up.
And so by that time, we had kind of transitioned the business from a landscape and lawn maintenance company to a lawn treatment company, which we are now, where we did lawn treatments. We didn't do much of the landscaping anymore. So when you came back in, we had kind of reinvented ourselves and into a lawn treatment program. So you started as a technician, right?
I did. I started as a technician. I would help out with the treatment side of things, and then we were still doing a little bit of landscaping.
A little bit, yeah.
So when you didn't need me for the treatment, I was helping out with the landscape jobs, which was, it came all right back to me. Once you've landscaped once or twice, it's the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of did that, and then you went from there. Were you a route supervisor? Were you ever?
In essence, I don't think at the time we had that official title, but that's
But you
mostly
kind of oversaw.
that's mostly the position you had me in unofficially.
And then from there, you went into sales. You kind of, we had you put into sales, and then most recently, now that we have multiple sales persons,
Right.
then you're functioning as a sales, you are the sales manager
Yeah.
of the business. So, I mean, that's over a 17-year span of time.
Yep.
But I think it's kind of funny how we started out. In 2003, who would have guessed?
Yeah.
17 years later, we would be sitting here, talking about the last 17 years and how we've grown, and now we have almost 3,000 customers and 30 plus employees, and
Yep.
it all started with you and I going door to door, putting out door flyers,
In a van.
in the van,
Yep.
and everything. So I mean, if anybody's wondering, yes, this is truly a father and son business. It started out that way. It's still that way. And as far as we can see, it'll be that way for a while anyway.
Yep.
So that's our story. I don't know. Do you have anything else that any thoughts you want to add, or?
I do have a funny story. So, well, there's probably a couple.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Over 17 years, you gotta have a few.
Absolutely.
As we discussed, I had gotten my learner's permit and learned how to drive with the truck and the trailer. And I would like to point out the fact that I don't think I ever caused any damage to the truck, and there was at least 2 instances I can think of off the top of my head. We tried to do a U-turn through a circular driveway one time, and no, this is Dawn. So we tried to do a circular U-turn through a circular driveway, and of course I look back and check to see how the trailer's tracking, and I noticed that the inside wheel of the trailer is tracking into the planting bed, and coming up is a sapling pine tree. So I try and get him to stop, don't catch him in time. The fender hits the tree and completely rips the tree off the roots. And the tree comes crashing down on top of the truck. Luckily, it's a small enough tree. And the husband and wife come out of the house, see this tree on top.
And we don't know these people.
We don't know.
These are not customers.
They thought we took out part of their garage. So
it was a boom.
Yeah,
it was a loud noise.
We replaced the tree for them, and apologized, asked whatever we could do, and then there's another time you were driving a tractor.
Yeah.
Do you want to share that one?
Yeah. Well, actually, there's 2 other times that I can think of. There's a time I was driving the tractor, and I had one of the stabilizers on the tractor.
Yep.
It wasn't retracted far enough, and I drove by the truck and hit the truck with the stabilizer.
Crumpled the bed. Yep.
And then there was another time that I was cutting down a fairly good sized pine tree, and I didn't think about the fact that the truck was parked in front of the pine tree. And as the pine tree fell down, it was like slow motion. I could see the pine tree falling on the truck.
Was I around for that one?
I
don't
don't
remember
so.
if I was around for that.
But
So, anyways, we don't have any stories of me in the truck. So I was taught how to drive by this gentleman, and evidently he's a better teacher than driver himself.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. So anyway, but that's our story, and I don't know. We just make it work together,
Yep.
and so that's how Father and Son Pest and Lawn Solutions got started and got to where we are today.
Yep.